All right, so we are in Torq number 5, set 1. So we've already done our warm-ups. We divided up into 1s and 2s. At this point, our 1s are going to be headed over to the rip, squat, and press. So we're coming over to the rip trainer. Grabbing onto the rip trainer. We're facing away from the anchor point. We're going to get our hands to start out with right in the middle of your black grips. So we're set up right here just like this. Feet are shoulder width apart. We're going to bring that bar to the chest, squat down, and then come back up, and at the top, we're pressing out. Okay? So it's in, out. To make it more difficult, the first thing you're going to do is step forward. Okay? The more I step forward, the harder it's going to be. If I need a little easier, I can step back. But you don't ever want slack in the rib band. And so don't step so far back that there's a lot of slack and it's bouncing a lot. Another thing you can do to make it easier is just move the hands closer to the band like we've done in a lot of our other exercises, or move further away from the band to make it more difficult. So that should be what you can do with your clients as far as making it easier or harder. If they can't do the squat portion, you can just have them stand and work on the press. Okay, so we're going to move from there. Our 2s are going to be going onto our single arm row. So we're taking a power block, we're setting up over here on this side of the room with the bikes. Best way to do it, I think, is to have them get set up, hands on knees, back nice and flat, and then lean down onto the bike peg. Okay, so from right there, we're grabbing onto our power block. We're going to pull up and rotate, try to get the thumb to the side of the chest just like this. Hold for a second, drop down. Pull up, hold for a second, drop down just like that. Obviously on this one, the easiest way to adjust difficulty level would be to raise or lower the weight. If they're having a hard time or there's not enough bike pegs to set up on, you can have them use a bike seat the same way, or even place their hand on the wall. Okay, so we're in Torq number 5, set 2. Our 1s are going to be over here working on our TRX chin-up. So remember, my favorite place to set those straps is about 1 inch or 2 above the belly button, or depending on how tall the person is, you can just take them all the way up to the top. So feet are starting directly underneath the straps. We've done this one before. We're sitting down to the ground. We're going to pull and rotate those hands, trying to touch the handles of the TRX to our shoulders, bodies in a seated position, and we're dropping back down. Remember, to make this one easier, we're going to have them move their feet closer to their butt right here. That'll allow them to use their legs, just like that. If they need to make it more difficult, let's just move into a regular chin up on the bar. So that's our 1s. 2s are going to be over here, set up on this side of the room on power block deadlift. Now remember, on our power block deadlift, starting out with 1 block, I'm just going to take that block, hold it however I'm comfortable, get the feet about shoulder width apart, keep the back nice and straight, eyes up, drop down to about that mid-shin level, and then bring it right back up, flexing the glutes at the top. If they're having a hard time with that, let's lighten the weight up. If they still can't, keep the good form. We're going to move into hip lifts. If we need to make it more difficult, we're going to progress to 2 blocks. We can set up with either a narrow stance and blocks on the outside, or we can put those blocks here, setting up a little bit wider stance blocks in the middle. Okay, so we are in Torq number 5. This is set 3. My 1s are going to be on split squats. So grabbing our power block if needed. We're obviously always setting up at the bottom, trying to create that 90-degree angle in the front knee. Toes are curled up underneath you. Glutes are forward and tight. Hands are on the head. Drive straight up, back down, light tap the knee. If we're adding the weight to it, let's start with 1 power block right here at the chest. Up, back down. If they're able to advance beyond that, we can use a block in each hand here. Okay, so that's our 1s. Our 2s are going to be on the rib overhead chop. On this one, thinking landmine chop right here. So we're setting up on the side that I'm going to be pressing with. That leg's going to be back, other leg's forward in that split stance. I'm grabbing on the black handles to start with. Okay, I'm pressing up with my right hand, keeping my left hand pretty much stable and just letting that wrist bend right there. Drop down to the shoulder, press up just like that, trying to get the pull to a straight position at the top, and then dropping back down. A few things to be aware of, I guess, with this one are people have a tendency to drop back here like this with the elbow high, and then extend forward like a tricep extension. Make sure they're dropping their elbow down and then pressing up. Drop the elbow down, press up just like a landmine press in a cage. If they're having a hard time with that, the closer they move to the band, the easier it is, just like normal. And the further they move out here, the harder it is. Okay, we can also step closer here, further out here to make it harder or easier. All right, we are in Torq number 5, set 4. My ones are going to start on TYIs. So we're grabbing the TRX straps, setting up back here. On your TYI, I like to use a kickstand, so I'm kicking one foot back in that kickstand position. Going to help keep the body straighter and not arch the back. So from right here, I'm setting up, I'm leaning back, trying to find a spot where I'm going to be able to do all 3 of the letters. So I'm making a T out of my body just like this, getting full extension, dropping back down, making a Y out of my body, coming back down, and then making that I. Okay, just like that. Make sure that they're not pulling into their chest and then pressing out here. Make sure that they're just rotating into that position. A little bit of movement on the feet makes a big difference. So if it's too difficult, have them just take an inch or 2 step back. And same thing, if it's too easy, move an inch or 2 forward, that's going to make it hard. All right, so those are the TYIs. And then we're going to move in from there into our, I don't even remember what it is. So our 2s are going to be over here on goblet squat holds and curls. So we're grabbing our power block, holding it right here just like this, up at the chest, just like it was a kettlebell. I'm going to drop down, feet are just outside shoulder width, dropping down into my goblet squat position, trying to position my elbows right between my knees, and then adding that bicep curl in down at the bottom. Make sure if you're going to have them do the hold and have them do the curl, especially, that they can get that full depth on their squat. If they're hinging down more, they're dropping that chest, then let's just have them work on goblet squats, just regular, getting as much depth as they can with good form. They don't have to do the hold, and they don't have to do the curl, so just make sure they're safe. We're in our last set of Torq number 5. So our ones are going to be starting on hip lift marches. So we're getting into that same hip lift position like we've used before. I'm going to bring those heels in close to my butt, palms are facing up, and I'm going to bridge my hips up. Once I get to the top and I get everything locked in, then we're going to march. So I'm bringing out the one side here, then dropping down just like this, adding that march in. Hard part about that is trying to keep the hips as high as possible. So make sure they're able to keep the hips up, not maybe to full extension the whole time. That takes a lot of strength, but keeping them up as high as they possibly can. If they can't do those marches at all, let's go ahead and just have them do the hip lift like we've already been working on, okay? So we're gonna move over here for our 2s into the power block chest press. So sitting down right here, we're gonna use the Bosu ball again on this one. If you don't wanna get out the Bosus or the Torq cords, you can do this on the ground and just do a floor press. We're dropping into that position, grabbing our power blocks right here, getting those hips engaged just off the ground here, bridge up, we'll press and rotate, drop down, press and rotate, okay? If they're having a hard time with this, obviously the first thing we're gonna do is just lower the weight to a more manageable weight. That should pretty much correct it for